Yeah, it's the most fun, exciting, frustrating thing a human can do, coach their son. He has such a good mindset on it right now. He knows that I know, and he's the one that he needs to listen to me. He knows that more than anybody, but it's just hard, man. Coaching's hard for anybody. I get in scraps with Chance and Quincy and Yaya and Kennedy all the time because I'm coaching them too much. It's just a constant critique, And so as coaches, we have to fluff that a little bit and throw in some hype ups and throw in some good compliments all the time. But the negativity seems negative. It's not. It's just a critique constantly. Fix this, fix this. That was good, but this could be better. When he's your son, it's just so much easier for him to fight back.
Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game. Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code IRONSUMMIT, all caps. That's code IRONSUMMIT, no spaces, all caps, for 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
All right, we're live. We got a special guest, Reece. Highlight Humphrey. Reece, we got a long list of accomplishments. 3-time world team member, 2011, 2013, 2015, 3-time U.S. Open champion, 2-time All-American at the Ohio State University. Had to make sure we got the in there. Head coach at the NJRTC at Princeton. You're the 2019 USA Wrestling Coach of the Year, and probably the most important, 2-time Veterans World Champ.
I think so, man. I put it in there all the time. Here we go. Oh, wrong one.
Yeah.
All right, give it up for Reece. Woo!
Gosh, Reece, we got to get to your podcast setup. I like the extra sounds.
We need more guests like
man.
Reece. Brings his own sound effects, professional background.
Yeah, you know me, man. I'm always prepared. Somebody got to be.
Yeah, not us.
We just can't get your headphones to work. That's the one thing.
Oh, yeah. No, these are just for show. They look cool.
they do look cool.
You look really professional.
Yeah.
Well,
so
Reece,
you went off the years I was on the team, 11, 13, 15.
Yeah.
Not 12, not 16. Yeah. Those years are, I'm an odd guy, so it doesn't hurt my feelings that you didn't miss the Olympic team twice, but thanks for bringing it up.
I think it's a cool stat though, like to get like the longevity of a career and being able to if you fall short of a goal one year and then you come back and make it the next year, like I actually think that says a lot about you as a person, as a competitor.
Yeah, bro. Consistency, always getting better. Like, as you said, my greatest accomplishments came when I was 35, the veteran world title. First American to ever win both styles. Texan pins all the way through the tournament.
Had to beat your brother, right, in the finals?
Yeah, I beat my brother in the finals. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Was that like
30 years of him whooping my ass? So they were like, are you guys going to do throws and play around? I'm like, no. I owe this dude.
I'm here to win. Was he on the same page? Was he upset when you beat him?
No, it's such a cool moment, man. He stood out there with me and we celebrated together. It was cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool, man.
Great.
So how did you first get started in wrestling? Like, obviously we all wrestled. Wrestling's kind of an oddball sport. How'd you come up into it?
Yeah, my dad coached the Olympic team twice, so there's that. He was world silver medalist.
Good start.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It's kind of crazy though. I didn't know he wrestled when I was coming up. He had me a little bit later in life, and so he was in sales. He coached at IU. He coached at Penn. He coached at Foxcatcher. He was the head coach. Dave Schultz was his best friend. So, like, all his boys would come over, and they were always wrestlers. So I was kind of around it, but I was never, growing up on the mats. But, yeah, I came home in 6th grade because my best friend wanted to wrestle. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And my dad knows some wrestling. I don't know. But I really didn't know. He didn't push me at all. It's the greatest gift he ever gave me. Was not pushing me. wrestling's so hard. You can't do it for somebody else. And so when he knows that more than anybody, being a competitor and a coach. And so he never pushed me into it. And so when it got really hard and the times were tough, I'm cutting a lot of weight, I knew it was my choice. So it was me that wanted to push through. And when you have somebody to blame or someone to put that energy on, it's a lot easier to quit or a lot easier to just kind of fold in the moment. And so he knew that to the max, and that's the greatest gift he ever gave me.
That's sweet. So I think that's such a great segue into like coaching your son Parker. Obviously, he wrestles now. He's got, you had big shoes to fill, but it sounds like your dad really didn't kind of expose you to that. With social media and everything now, like I'm sure Parker's more aware of that. How do you think about that, or any pressure that he has, and how do you take coaching your son, which is like super cool, but obviously it's a big responsibility too.
Yeah, it's the most fun, exciting, frustrating thing a human can do, coach their son. Like he has such a good mindset on it right now. He knows that I know, and he's the one that he needs to listen to me. He knows that more than anybody, but it's just hard, man. Coaching's hard for anybody. I get in scraps with Chance and Quincy and Yaya and Kennedy all the time because I'm coaching them too much. It's just a constant critique, And so as coaches, we have to fluff that a little bit and throw in some hype ups and throw in some good compliments all the time. But the negativity, it seems negative. It's not. It's just a critique constantly. Fix this. That was good, but this could be better. When he's your son, it's just so much easier for him to fight back. You can't really say no to coach, but you can say no to dad. And so
Yeah.
I'm just constantly trying to toe the line of pushing him and getting the most out of him, but also not crossing that line to where he really combats me. And so he does a really good job. I think he listens as well as a human can listen that's 14 years old and your dad's your coach, but it's just it's the coolest thing ever. And his path to success is going to be different than mine. Like he's very athletic, but on the mat, like that feel, maybe just a couple of years ago, his worst position was when he was pinning you. So he would be pinning you, and then the dude would bridge, and then he'd get pinned. And I'm like, just let it go. And there's some things that I didn't have to be taught, but he's just grown up different. I weighed 80 pounds in 8th grade. He's in 8th grade right now. He weighs about 120. So he's a lot bigger than me. So his body type's just a little different, but the kid wants to win more than anybody I've ever seen, just because like my dad was in sales. I'm in the room every day. Everybody he looks up to is a high level wrestler. So he just wants it so bad. The kid's up at 6 a.m. getting lifts in, talking about meathead stuff. My boy's a meathead.
I love it.
So he's up at 6, lifting before school, going to 8 practices a week, 5 with his middle school, and then 3 clubs in the nighttime. And so he's putting in all the work, and it's as frustrating as it can be. It's amazing. It's way, way better. There's nothing more exciting than watching your kid go out there and feel those things that we all felt as competitors. It's super tough. It's difficult. How do they handle stress? I got in a fight with a coach the other day, and I've never done that on the senior level, but it's my son out there. It's just a whole different emotion. It's a really cool thing.
That is awesome. How, with your son, but I guess all your athletes, because you talked about how driven your son is, going to 8 practices a week. He's getting up at 6 to lift. That's not normal behavior for a 14-year-old.
Right.
I coach, Ryan coaches now. I coach like high school age kids. How do you instill that drive? Because like we've been there. We know like we wanted it really bad. And I've been thinking back to like when I was that age, like what made me want it that badly and make me, make the sacrifices, choose to do things a little differently, live a different lifestyle. But do you think it's something that is coached, or do you think someone just has it or they don't?
I think it's coached, and I think it's less coached than it is perceived. He sees how hard I work. He knows what Chance Marsteller does. He knows what Quincy Monday does, and he knows these guys are getting their second workouts in. So he's got the perfect examples around him all the time. He watched how hard Coach Dubuque worked. Coach Dubuque, he works really hard. All the guys on the college team at Princeton, the guys that are really good, are in the room doing conditioning after practice. And he just sees it and he knows, well, if I want to win, these are the steps that I have to follow. And so I think like coaching your son is one thing, but having a village of really good people around, and they don't have to be the highest level coaches. They just have to be people that really care and that people are good to model your son's behavior after. And so he's just got such a good situation with the Princeton Wrestling Club and with Princeton and with the NJRTC. And then just like all my friends are high level wrestlers too. So it's just like a million good examples. I don't really have any bad people around me that he could be like, well, I could just skate by and use athleticism. He knows there's no shortcuts around the work. And so it's just kind of rubbed off that way.
So it's like a lead by example thing rather than
I
like
think so.
you're not like, hey, you got to have this drive. This is what it takes. You just kind of, he's seen it.
Especially in youth, like you see these kids that are Tulsa champs. I see young 45 pounders wearing trash bags. You got to cut 12 pounds to make 145 or make 45 pounds. And like they win, they have success, but they look miserable. And if they don't win, it's the end of the world. And it's just not what youth wrestling's about. There's very, very few people that make it to the highest level, let alone the D1 level. And whether my son does that or not, enjoying the moment, enjoying the process is way, way more important. And when you enjoy being at the practice room and being around those people, you get so much more out of it. So I just think like winning at the young age is not it. Like, I just don't care at all. The success will come, and we know that they want to win, but it's our job as coaches and fathers and mothers to kind of step back and just let them be and hype up the little things and don't get too down on the negativity and the losses.
I love that. So what do you think about, some coaches are like, I will not coach my son. Obviously, you're in a different situation. You're coaching for a living and you're around it every day, but you also are in a great spot where there's a bunch of high level athletes around. What's your balance of like other people coaching your son versus like you helping him out and you're with him 24/7? So I'm sure you're helping him with technique and doing stuff as well.
Yeah, so it's another thing that's hard for me to balance. I don't really know. I'm trying to figure it out. And I have the great example of my dad coaching and from the other side of the perspective. And so I think about that all the time. If he gets frustrated and he's getting mad at me, I'll just kind of walk away because I tend to hover over him a lot. And that's not the best thing for him all the time. So it's a good balance. If there's good coaches in the room, I definitely want them to show him stuff too. Uh, but I do tend to, when I'm teaching a lot of things that my son needs. And so then he'll kind of get that. And I do the same thing with the guys at the RTC. If there's a moment where someone's starting to get combative, they're tired and they're just starting to get defensive, I'll either walk away and they'll know that they blew it and they'll kind of want me to come back, and I'll just say, no, you ruined that for a second. I'm gonna coach them for a little bit, or I'll start coaching the other guy. If there's two partners, Chance is working with Kennedy, I'll start coaching Kennedy on what Chance needs. So he hears it, and Chance knows my strategies at this point, so it just pisses him off. But it's just, it does get it done. It lets them know that they're being defensive on a senior level. But for kids, sometimes you just got to step away and let them figure it out on their own. There's a lot of tournaments where I'm traveling for, and my son will have to go, and he needs to learn how to figure out when he's up. And it's just part of growing up, figure out how to handle situations. Because if I'm in a corner, it's a clear advantage. I can tell him to get his head up. I can tell him to move left here, and it's like almost playing a video game. But if I'm not there, you got to be able to figure those things out. And at the highest level, there's no time for someone to tell you those things. And so you have to be able to handle those things in situations yourself. And it's ultimately down to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm curious, and I've thought about this a lot. When you're coaching really higher level athletes, wrestling is such a dynamic sport, and it's so individual. Like your style, like take me through kind of how you coach that. Like, are you doing move based coaching? Is it system based? Is it customized to each athlete? Like, and I just you're a super high level coach coaching super high level athletes. Take me through your thought process there a little bit.
Yeah, I think I teach more in philosophies and concepts. Are you athletic here? Are you explosive here? Are you off balance here? What can you do to compromise your opponent's stance? All these things make you stronger and make them weaker. And so that works for Nate Jackson, who's 6'5", and it works for Tyler Graff when he was on the team and he's 5'5". Those things are very, very important to understand how to grow, because at the senior level, these guys have so much success. They get away with a lot of things that could be better. And it's very, very hard to get them to change unless you explain why. And so if you can explain, you'll be stronger here, he'll be more tired here, because in the moment, it might not make that big a difference. But in the 6-minute match, if you're not hand fighting or you're not moving forward or you're not holding your ground, those things add up. and those things will make you more tired and make them more fresh. And so those are the things I'm preaching all the time. There's certain things that are just very, very hard to do. And until you really buy in and do it for 6 weeks, 6 months, and fail through it, because if you try something new, you're 100% going to fail at first. And you can always just go back to what you do because it works. But we're not trying to be where you are right now. We're trying to beat the guys that are better than you. And so you got to make that gap somehow. And so if you can explain why a technique's going to work or why this position that's really hard to do is going to be worth it, they're much more likely to do it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going through the philosophy and really focusing on explaining why you're having someone do something.
Always.
I think that's
And
so
if they
funny.
can explain why they do something different that I don't really see as what would work for me, perfect. If you can explain why to me and I can understand it, let's do it.
That's so funny. Coach Ayers always talks about that. He's like, wrestlers won't do something until you tell them why. So I feel like just spending a little time around him and like you too, it's like you guys definitely rub off on each other.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
He's the man. Shout out to Coach Ayers. But
Shout out
the
to
other
Ayers.
the other thing that I want to talk about is just how outgoing you are, Reece. I think just spending time with you, spending time around you, like I think you bring the energy up in the room, and I think it's such an important part of wrestling and coaching that people overlook. Like you guys are having fun, you guys are working hard and practicing hard and grinding when the time comes, but it's such a brutal sport. It's also like it's a marathon, and keeping guys engaged for long periods of time, I think, is how you get good at it. And I think you do such a good job of fostering that environment. And you're always like, you're outgoing, high energy, and you're always willing to try new things. Does that come naturally to you, or how did that come about? Because I think that's like you're this big personality that leads by example and really brings that energy in athletes, especially when they're cutting 15 pounds and feel like crap.
Yep. So it's we run these adult wrestling classes, and
I
so when
love
we're
it.
teaching other people to how to coach them, we say be an exaggerated version of yourself. So yes, I am naturally outgoing and like to be loud and try to be funny all the time, but if you're a nerdy coach and you're really good at the statistics and analytics and technique, be an exaggerated version of that. And so there's so many practices where I'm exhausted as the coach walking in there. And before I open the door, I put the code in, I always take a deep breath, and then I just change when I get in there. Because like I said, if my son likes to be in the room, he's going to get more out of it. If Chance likes to be in the room, Quincy, all these guys, the guys that are cutting weight, if you really like being in there and can't wait for practice, it's such a difference than if you're dreading what time practice is and you just don't really want to do the goes. Because even if you do love it, the college season is impossible and it's just very, very hard to do. So the more that you can bring the energy for them, the more it'll rub off. And there'll be guys that are walking in and they're just dead. And then when they see the RTC guys excited to be in there, it lifts everybody up. So it's really the coach's job to change that environment, put on music that other people like, not what you like, put on, do something funny to make whatever you can do, just be an exaggerated version of it, because you have to bring the room up, because we're not cutting weight. We're not the ones that have to fight and do all the live goes. So we should have more energy, but we also have a bunch of other shit that we're doing. And if we let that drag us down and we walk in the room with our head down, it's just so quickly how the room will turn to that emotion. So why not be positive and try and get the most out of your guys? That's what coaching is.
Yeah, your coach kind of leads the emotion in the room. You're leading
Always.
everything else. Why not? Yeah, why not lead that too?
You know who, Reece, I think you and one other coach are the best examples of that. Coach Kish at Oklahoma.
Yep.
He, especially back when he was at NDSU, like he would have good teams, but he would have guys outperform all the time. And if you ever look in the corner, like he's so encouraging to his guys while they're wrestling, and he just gets them to fight and continue to go. And I mean, part of some people like being kicked in the butt, but a lot of people like do better, I think, with positive re-encouragement, or positive just encouragement. And I really think your coaching style is a testament. Like you've had 4 world team members at the NJRTC in a short amount of time. And it's not the same number of athletes of like a Nittany Lion Wrestling Club or a Michigan RTC, like Cliff Keen Wrestling Club.
Right.
So I think it says a lot about you, but 2, that coaching style and how much that impacts wrestlers' performance in a positive way, because they come to the NJRTC, they come work with you, and then they way outperform what, they're supposed to. And you make them jump levels, which I think is really cool. Do
Yeah.
you think there's
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think like the format should be positivity is just going to be an easy way to start. But then there's some guys that you do need to yell at. So CJ
Hmm.
Brucky, the guy I do the music, to do the podcast with, we do
Young
adult
Bruck.
wrestling. He wrestled in Cuba, and he was he was pretty good. He wasn't an All-American in college, but he got really good afterwards because he was working really hard. And he was anybody that trains on the senior level and puts that time in, like you said, be consistent. That's going to benefit you in the long run. But he went to Cuba and he went 0-3, and I was telling him how good he was doing, and he looked at me. He goes, "Just yell at me. You got to yell at me. Tell me I'm doing bad." I'm like, "Well, you're not doing bad. And if you really want me to scream at you, it's like I'm not that guy." But there was another match where Chance was at a ranking series and he wrestled 4 world medalists back to back to get to the guy who ended up winning the Olympics this past year. And then he got taken down in a weird thing, but he quit and he just got gut wrenched 4 times. And I was thinking back to that CJ moment and I yelled at him. And I was thinking that's what he needed in that moment. And so I'm not that guy as a coach, but there's times where the athlete needs that. And so
Hmm.
sometimes some people need that and some people really want that and it will help them. But I think do it strategically, because if your your standard is to scream at somebody, you're going to do it way too often. And then there's going to start to be a divide and they're going to start to do opposite of what you say. And it can just spiral out real quick. So I think positivity is by far the base. And then treat every athlete individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any tips for like, because it is individual. I think some people respond better to positive reinforcement and some to negative. Like, how do you know which way to go with that?
Pay attention. That's
Yeah.
really it. Pay attention. Yeah. I'm with these guys
I
every
think you're
single
right.
day. And with an RTC, I have 4 or 5 athletes all the time. So it's pretty easy. If you're coaching a whole college program or a high school program, and you have 40, 50 athletes, then it might be a little more difficult. And you're always going to start to pay attention more to the starters. But the people that are getting better and working really hard, pay attention to what works for them. Don't have an ego about it. Like, this is how I coach. You're going to follow what I do. You need to listen too. Being coachable as a coach is really, really important. There's a lot that your athletes can teach you. There's a lot your athletes can teach each other. Don't have the end all be all the time. I don't think it's the right way to go, because there's other things that other people do that are really good that are totally foreign to you. And so same with letting people coach, like the captains are really important on the team too. Sometimes the things that need to be said can't come from the coach. They need to come from a peer and come from one of the guys that's on the team that's doing it in the moment. It's easier to listen to. And if that's what gets the job done, I don't care who gets the credit. My guy is winning. I don't really care if he doesn't like me in the moment. If he learns how to do it, it's the right thing to do. And if it needs to be taught from somebody else, step back. That's coaching.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So, I mean, a lot of this, I mean, behind the scenes coaching philosophy stuff, but then also like you talked earlier about leading from the front. What do you do in terms of, I think one of the coolest things about wrestling is like, I mean, you don't see football coaches out there getting tackled by their football players, right? You're in there
Right.
scrapping. So I guess, how do you think about one, your personal training to stay, in shape? And obviously you lift a bunch of weights and we talk a lot about weightlifting on this podcast. So we want to hear about like your personal training and how you stay ready week to week. Well, your goal isn't competing, but your goal is to, be able to coach your guys, wrestle at a high level with them, and keep your body healthy so you can continue to help your guys. And then also just like, it's nice to be the most jacked dad on the beach too.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Look
goal
good,
number one.
look good, feel good, wrestle good.
Exactly. Well, priority number one is if I ever go to the beach, which I'll
Yeah.
find my way there. But yeah, as you get older, it gets much harder. But I can say something, I can teach somebody something so many times and then never get it. And then I hit it on them 4 times, then they start to listen. So if I can show
Yeah.
them that it works, it's much more likely to work. So I have to keep my body right. I have to lift. I lift at least 3 days a week, most of the time 4 or 5. And so, and as I get older, those lifts used to go from 30 sets to 24. Now it's like, if I get 12 sets in every single day, then I'm chilling and I'm definitely strong enough to handle it. Cause if grabbing Yaya Thomas, if I'm not strong and ready, I'll be hurt. and I'm hurt already. So that's like, I'll be hurt worse. And so, you have to do the things that it takes to be a coach too. And so if I want to be able to show the guys how to do stuff, and I want to be able to scrap with them and teach them how to hand fight, and even if Yaya beats me, then I can show them the things. There's still points where I'm like, did you see how I held my ground there when I was exhausted? And I'm not the same athlete that I was, but I can still show them how important certain things are just by actually doing it. And they know if I can do it, they can definitely do it. And so it's an easy choice for me. And then I get to be Jack too. So that's cool.
Yeah. How are you breaking up your training days right now? So 12
so
sets per
lifting,
workout.
yeah,
Lifting.
push, pull, shoulders, core, for the most part. Mm-hmm.
So
I like that a
No
shoulder
legs.
day by itself.
push pull
Shoulders,
split.
yeah. Shoulders the easiest one. Shoulders and core, and then I wear pants at the beach, so no
There you
legs.
go. So did I see you made you got a workout with Coach Meyer's gut check?
Oh, he was my strength coach at Ohio
Yeah,
State for a
that's
long, long
awesome.
time. We got the Ultimate Pump though, and so
Yeah.
the Ultimate Pump is like a very heavy, very quick, like low recovery type workout. And we have an ebook out. We got two ebooks out. We got the Ultimate Pump, maybe 1 and 2, and then we have how to become an athletic freak. And so you can check those out at fanaticwrestling.com or oldschoolgym.com is his website. But he and I kind of built the social media wave together. We would always try and do something fun afterwards, something challenging that wasn't monotonous, just lifting weights and eating iron all the time. It's just not who we are. And so if there was some cool core skill that we were trying to work after, that broke it up a little bit and changed that. But yeah, man, Coach Myers is the best.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been a big fan of his stuff for a long time. Um, what about like physical literacy? Like you talked about a little bit, like just there doing some fun stuff after. Obviously, anybody that's seen you like doing a bunch of flips, highlight Humphrey, right? And then your son's doing a bunch of stuff. Like, how do you think about athleticism / training that from a young age,
Yep.
and with your athletes or with yourself?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that stuff comes naturally, but we warm up with cartwheels and forward rolls, especially for youth. All these people
Hmm.
need to be comfortable being upside down. And in wrestling, you have to have that awareness and have to be able to know where to go in positions that you maybe have never been in, and you have to be able to learn it on the fly. And being upside down is the key for me. So handstands, walking on your hands, and I incorporate a lot of games, but I put them in those positions just to learn that. I think like 50-50 scrambles in practice is really good for awareness and teaching athleticism. But doing partner roles and doing other funny things that I've seen on Instagram is always a break, and the kids don't realize that they're learning new skills and they're just having fun, but it always translates. And I can see it, and the other parents will come up and be like, my son just did a cartwheel out of that high crotch. I'll be like, yeah, because he's been upside down. He started falling that way. The only way to land is to put your hands down or break your neck. So if you've never done a cartwheel though, you won't do it in a match. And so I just think you can teach athleticism, but being upside down is really important. And I think the warm up is the best way to do that.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, I feel like more than anything, you do a lot of flips and whatnot. Did you do like gymnastics or
I did
did you just
gymnastics when I was very young for maybe like a year or two. And
okay?
I was awesome.
You
I was
just picked
getting
it up
perfect
quick.
scores on the rings. When I told them I was going to quit, they were like, no. So I think that could have been another route for me, but I need to put my hands on somebody,
Yeah. Well,
I
that's what's
love.
cool about wrestling is it's such a physical sport, but it is so much about like proprioceptive awareness. It's a crazy combination that you don't really get even in like other combat sports, striking sports, you definitely don't get it as much. Jiu-jitsu, it's a lot on the mat. Like wrestling, you have so much like you are upside down a lot. It's a
all the
different
time.
different sport in that way. And I think it's like one of the things that makes wrestling so cool is how much proprioceptive awareness you need to succeed.
Yeah. Right. And so
Yeah,
that's why core strength is so important. So like all the different challenges and things like that, it always takes a lot of core strength. Wrestlers just naturally have that because we're off balance all the time and we have to flex out of it. You get a little extended on a high crotch, you flex through your core. But if you can train things that are like wrestling, and so like we'll do the warm up athletic stuff, but I always start with a very light drill where I put myself in a position that I'm a little extended and then flex up through it. That's keeps the core tight. And if you can translate that power from your legs to your upper body, it's all because of your core. And so, yeah, I think it's really important.
But there's some wrestlers that like you can tell when they grew up that they just wrestled because they're super athletic in these wrestling positions. But then you play any other sport with them and they're like, it's like they got two left feet. And so like, and I got to give you an example just because I need him to hear this. But Yaya's the man. That's my boy, right? Wrestled at Northwestern, but you ever play handball with him? Super athletic when he's wrestling, right? You're like, wow, how did he do that? That's crazy. You play handball and he's like tripping over himself. He's like missing the ball.
Different kinds of athletes, right?
You're right.
Yeah, I'll throw Yaya a ball and he'll be like, you almost hit me. I'm like, catch it.
Put your hands up. But it's funny because he's super athletic, but it's wrestling specific too. And I think there's like a lot of examples of that. So it is funny how sometimes that translates to other areas. And maybe that's, kids spend a lot of time playing a lot of sports growing up or not. But you can tell the guys that like that athleticism goes into their everyday life or stays in a specific sport.
And I think
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Reece.
Yeah, I think it is learned as a kid, though. It's like I think it's very important to put your kids in reckless situations, controlled reckless situations.
You hear that, Max?
Getting them to jump off. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure he's already got her doing stuff. So if he wants to jump off the stairs, put a little mattress down there and let him jump off the stairs and be like, one higher until mom comes in and puts an end to it. But it's just awesome. It's a really important thing to be upside down, two, to the fearlessness of trying new things. If we're so worried about them getting hurt all the time, then they'll never become that. And so playing games, it's all fun. It changes the monotony of just wrestling practice all the time, but I think those things are really important. And the biggest thing though with wrestlers, like you can be a super freak athlete like Yaya is, but hand-eye coordination is a different skill. And
that's true.
Some people don't have it.
That was what I was gonna ask, and you're like, I mean, I think when you think of like athlete, you think of Reece Humphrey. Like it's in wrestling, you wrestled like about as athletic as you can. But I get in this debate all the time, like what does being an athlete mean? Because I think a lot of people mistake having good hand-eye coordination for being an athlete.
So baseball players aren't athletes, you're saying?
Some are.
I don't think so. Some of them.
Some are.
Reece is like, nah.
How do you define an athlete? Like, give me your definition of athleticism.
When I think of athleticism, I think of how fast are you, how high can you jump, and then how good is your balance. And so hand-eye coordination would maybe be fourth. Like I think if you can,
what about strength?
Something that's going to help too, and I think it's pretty important. But yeah, and focus I think would be another one. People that can stay focused for longer.
Is strength a piece of athleticism? Yeah.
Strength, flexibility, those things are definitely in there too.
Yeah, and there's certain aspects of it like you can train, like strength. Like I think you can train hand-eye coordination to a certain extent. Like you can't train, or I think it's harder to train your comfortability being like upside down. You can train like you talked about, but like some people, like you said, are just really good at it naturally, like yourself, and other people like me are not as good at it. So,
right. Well, no one can hold you upside down.
Max came out 15 pounds.
When you're a kid and you're not 300 pounds.
Are you good at flips and stuff, Ryan?
So I never really in high school a little bit, like I can do some stuff, but I don't think I had the like Reece, you're saying like jumping off of the stairs. Like I definitely messed around as a kid and did stuff. But as I got older, it was like, oh, I don't want to break my ankle when I land off this flip and all that stuff. So I probably should have been a little bit more the other way and just reckless abandonment. No, 100%. I do think there's a value in it, especially when you're young. Like you're saying, you got to learn it young because you get to like 20 and you're like, oh, I could actually break my neck. And then you don't actually jump as high as you should. And you make it more dangerous than it needs to be. But
yeah, when you're a kid, you heal quick when you're a kid if you do tweak something. And it's like if you do a flip and you roll your ankle in the middle of wrestling season, you made a huge mistake. So there's a time and a place too, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
That's fair. One last wrestling question before I want to talk about your music, Reece. But what about how was making 60 kilos? Obviously, you're a big dude. Like, what were you doing cutting weight?
So it would take me 8 to 10 weeks. Depending on how heavy I was, but I weighed around 157, and like super extreme fighting weight, like 2 workouts a
Yeah,
day. I don't eat that much in general. And so when I was 57, I would be 25 pounds over. And so it would take me a
it's a
good 10
lot.
weeks. And, I could get the first 7 off in a couple days, and then it would start to just come down slowly. And then when I'd hit 140, I always got stuck.
Hmm.
Always. Like I'd be doing the same thing. My weight would be coming down a pound, pound and a half every day, and I'd be coming down steady. And like, oh, I'm cruising here. 140, always stuck. It would take me a week, week and a half for my body to adjust to being 140, doing the same thing, eating less, the calorie deficit, doing everything right, and it would just be stuck there. So I would always plateau at 140, and I'd be like, dude, I don't know if it's ever going to come down. And if I didn't start that early, it would be a big problem, and I'd have to do extreme measures to get it down because my body wouldn't be ready to do it. But once it realizes that it's not dying and I will be okay, then I can start to bring it down. But I had to have that week and a half at 140 being kind of miserable there before I could actually cut down to 60. And 60 was miserable. 61 was miserable. I went 61 in 13, made the team, feeling great. Just beat Coleman Scott, who was the Olympic bronze medalist, to make the team. And then I was like done with cutting weight, went up to 65, got fifth at the Open, said cutting weight doesn't hurt as bad as losing. So I went back down 2015. And I kind of thought the year before the Olympics, the weight's it's gonna kind of spread out and everybody's gonna fill into those Olympic weights. There was 25 world medalists in my weight that year. So everybody
Wow.
had the same idea I had, and didn't work out for me.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it's like I mean, going 157 to 132 is nuts.
Yeah, in
How
like the best shape of my life at 157.
Right.
how much water weight would you do to
I
get
was
to
I, I
132?
was not good at this, and so I got it. So like right now, if I go to practice and I do an hour and a half, I'll lose 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds. It's like I just don't sweat like that. I don't drink that much water in general. But when I was cutting weight, I would do over a gallon a day, just probably closer to two
Trying
gallons
to,
a day. And so I got it to
yeah.
where my workouts I would lose 7 in a weight cut kind of workout. And I think this is a really good point. I would do my weight cut for 10 weeks out, and so I would throw the
Yeah.
plastics on, do the sauna workout every weekend, maybe twice a week. And so when I got down, it was just another thing that I did. It never shocked my body. And people talk about don't be in a hot tub, don't be in a sauna, don't do this, don't do that because it'll drain you. If you've done it before, it won't. And so, like, obviously, don't high school kids, college kids can't throw on plastics, but if you've never done that, don't just throw them on. It will drain you. If you've never ran 5 miles to cut weight, don't do that either. So the things that you do should be the things that you're used to when you're getting down to weight, even though the other thing might be a little bit easier, it'll tax you more because you're not used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's a great point.
senior level is such a different game too, because it's like you have the time to do basically like a fight camp, right? Where it's like in college, you can't be 25 over because you got to make weight the next week. So like you have,
Right.
6 days to make weight, which I mean, it's probably good so that guys aren't cutting as much, but also you can, I don't know, you can do it a little bit more healthily if you got a lot of
Yeah.
time to
So,
get
yeah.
down.
So even when I made 33 in college, I would be like maybe 12 over every Monday, and I would be like 12 over in between Friday, Sunday duels. And, it's pretty miserable when you do it like that, but it's just,
Yeah.
I weighed more than that. So even being 12 over, I was kind of sucked out too.
Yeah.
And I never really shrank my body. It just didn't really come down. I would lose a little bit of muscle towards the end of the year. Um, but the college wrestling season is it's actually, I think it's impossible to do. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's making weight 20 separate times. If you're cutting a ton of weight, it's not the route that I would go. I just had to do it because we had Jaggers, national champ, and then Lance Palmer up at 49. So it was do that for the team or don't wrestle, because we're not going to try and wrestle off Jaggers and have that whole situation. So it was just where I had to be, but do it the best you can. And in the lulls, when your body's breaking down and you just don't have that much, you got to just wrestle a different match. And so I got a lot better learning how to strategize when I'm tired. It's probably why I can still wrestle well today, because I'm tired walking in the room.
I,
But
I
yeah, there's a
love it.
lesson in everything.
No,
Really is.
100%. So can you talk to us about, I mean, you do a lot of different things, no genre right behind you. How is making music, like relatively new thing in your life, like help scratch the itch of like not being able to compete
Yeah, that's what it is
anymore.
for me. It's frustrating. It's exciting. It's a way to be creative, and it's a way to be competitive for me. And so it's like you always think the next song is the one,
Yeah.
and maybe it is, maybe it's not. But the journey of it is so much fun. Like if people listen to the music, that'd be awesome, man. I would really love to do it. We're performing at a music festival this spring, so that's going to be really cool. We're
Sweet.
starting to do more shows. It's just so much fun. But being in the booth and having something to look forward to and work on every day, it's like I wake up excited. And that's how I felt when I was training. And so, and obviously I love coaching. I'm thinking about that all the time too. But to have something that's not wrestling and still feels the same way, and it motivates me. It's been a really fun journey. And it's just like wrestling. We've been doing music for like seriously for maybe 2-3 years. And it's just like wrestling where if you practice and we work on it, we're in the studio every single week, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, and we get better every time. And we're trying to figure out how our voices are. And that's why we're no genre, because we're trying to figure out what we're doing because we don't know. And we do know that. And we know that failing is part of the process. And so all the things that we've learned through wrestling, it's all helping through the music. And it's such a different thing because no one's pulling on my head and I can eat what I want. So it's
and
There
you're
you
doing
go.
it with we've had Pat Brucky on here a couple times. We'll have to get CJ at some point, but CJ Young Bruck's with you. Do you want to play like a, I don't know, a quick song? You got it all hooked
oh
up?
yeah, I got a song. I
Let's
think.
go.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to do it live.
Do a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
You're the first music on Iron Summit. Let's
Okay.
go.
So we're no genre, right? We
Yeah.
couldn't be no genre if we didn't do a yodel song. So I'm about to yodel for you guys.
Let's go.
Okay, hang on.
Let's
Let me
hear it.
do this. Switch
Oh, he's
this.
got the hat.
There we go.
Snap back to
Put this
cowboy.
around this way. I don't even know how to wear it. Okay, check this out. All right. Okay. Yeah. Welcome to no genre. Hi. Hello. How you doing? Okay. People think that I am just a serious guy. I guess these people do not know me. See, I wanna hang out and have a good time. Fucking 9 to 5, life is so beautiful, I be feeling alright, people so cool, to the sky, so what a surprise, a beautiful sunrise. The sun is my skin like a vitamin, I'm trying to take it up all in. My cup is half full of energy, positivity, your cup is half empty, think about it. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, yodely, ay. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, oh, oh, oh. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, yodely, ay. Life is such a beautiful, doodly thing. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, yodely, ay. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, oh, 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 oh. Yodely, yodely, ooh, yodely, yodely, ay. Life is such a beautiful, doodly thing. Yodely, yodely day, keeping the doctor away. What a beautiful day. What can I say? I'm loving my life now. Cruising, I got my own lane, sweeter than sugar and cane. Looking out the window pane, the world is insane. I just wanna fly now. You gotta think the one above, and no one better than this. CJ verse, I don't really know. The one above, you gotta be crazy. Something like that, you know what I'm saying? Come on!
That was awesome. Let's go. Dude, that was sweet. I didn't know you were going live with it.
Just live, straight off the top of the dome. I made that up just now.
How do you figure out you were that good at that? Like,
Practice, my
how'd
guy.
that start? But like, what made you want to start making music? Were you like, hey, I have a decent voice, let me give this a shot? Where'd that start?
No idea, man. It's like when I was a kid, my dad told me I could do whatever I wanted, and I listened. I believed him. And so I'm
That
like,
is so awesome.
damn, making music sounds cool, you know? Like I would love to do that. And then we got in the booth and I made one song maybe 6-7 years ago. And I was like, damn, that was really fun. And with the producer, we have 2 different producers and these dudes believe in us. And it's like, they say 2025, we go, I promise this is the year. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I don't believe you, but so it's just been so much fun. And But yeah, I made like a song a year, and then CJ got involved, and then the dude got addicted, and we made like 20 songs that year, and they all sucked. And so, but we thought they were awesome in the moment, and then looking back, I'm like, damn, look how far we've come. And then I'm thinking, look how far we'll go 2 years from now, and we're going to start to produce, and we're starting to perform live, and we're getting the most out of our producers, and that's probably the most motivating thing. They are pushing us to keep going, and they put in the most best work that they can do, and it just makes you feel good, and it's really fun, and it's cool, man. It's music. Making music is just another way to be an artist, you know.
That is sweet. That is so cool. That's like I feel like most people don't just like decide like, hey, I'm just it sounds like fun, I'm gonna do it. And for you guys to like
That's
do that,
awesome.
relatively, most people maybe start at 10 and start thinking about this and you're just like, hey, I want to try it, and then you guys crush it. That's sweet. So where's your next performance?
So yeah, we don't really have anything lined up. We have the in with the guy at the music festival. It's called Breed, and
Okay.
so I don't really know what the venue is going to be like yet. But he said there's a ton of A&R and reps and labels that we can get their attention, and like we can do pretty good music, but us live will be a party. I
That'd be
might not be able to
awesome.
Yeah,
make music, but I can
I can
100%
tell.
throw a party. And so, so
You and
that
CJ
I'm very
together too?
confident with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CJ and I, we got dance moves. We got a little yodel dance move. It's gonna go crazy.
That
That
is
was awesome.
sweet. So is that like the long-term like vision for you too? Like wrestling and music, that's your stuff?
It's right now. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop making music. It's just it's a way for me to like. There's certain things I can't really say to my wife in the moment, so I get to write them down, and instead of just sending a text, I'll sing a song, and I'll be like, "Check this out. This is how I feel about you,"
Nice.
That's cool.
and she'll
I
go like
like
this,
it.
"Neat."
I saw that video. Yeah, she was like,
Yeah, she's the best. She loves it, and it's getting to the point where the music's actually pretty good. She's starting to show people,
For sure.
and pretty crazy. Like we haven't even released any of the stuff that we've been working on, and so we're releasing an EP. Quincy Mondays on it, aka South Baby. That's what we call Quincy South
salve.
Baby. So yeah,
Okay.
South Baby, South Baby. So we got 2 songs on that EP. It's coming out January 31st, and then we're going to release an EP every month for the next 6 months for sure, probably the next year. And so we'll have just constant music coming out. We're going to start to do promotion and try and get serious with that, but it's just like it all costs money. So we're just going to be making the shit up as we go.
That's sweet. So where can people
Love it.
find you?
We can find us. We have probably 20 songs out. Half of them are probably not that good, but you can find them on Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming service, YouTube, if you want to just do that way.
What's your
Uh,
what's your current favorite
Current favorite, man, I
that's
like
out?
Bad Beer. If you clap your hands, that's cool. If you clap your cheeks, that's better.
We'll
Nice.
link that below. And
Heck yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then I got a playlist with my favorites, the best in no
okay,
genre, so we can link
cool.
that.
Cool.
That's sweet. Yeah, we'll link all that. One last thing for you, Reese. What about I mean, dude, you got so many different things you do. What about OG Wrestling Club? What was the start of that? I mean, with jujitsu getting so big, I think it's a great idea. But how did you
It
think
could be
about like,
so big, man. It really could. And so we work out of jujitsu gyms just because we don't want to find a gym and pay overhead. We looked into all that, but the idea behind it is to do exactly what jujitsu did. They crushed this market, and wrestling has nobody. So from the age of 22, or if you're lucky enough to wrestle in college, to 50, 60, there's just nothing there. I mean, there's very few. And since I won the veterans and started doing OGWC, I get people messaging me probably every single week about should I open this. And so we actually did a video with Ocean, with Jason Nolf's technique thing,
yeah,
how to run an OGWC class. And I don't even think it's live yet because we're still kind of waiting on a bunch of stuff. But we run these classes and they're awesome, man. We do the exaggerated version of ourselves. It's a party in there. And so I know for me, I don't want to get on a treadmill for 90 minutes, but if I roll, I blink and the class is over. And so a
Yeah.
lot of them are the people that are in there are parents that want to help their kids. They're club coaches that want to get better technique to take back to their club. And it's just the idea behind it is to grow wrestling. And so I think that's an untapped market that is a $1 billion idea. And it's going to take somebody more than me to get it done. But the more people that want to try it, just do it. Get guys and girls in there and then just run it. And it's so much different than working with young kids that are being forced to go to practice. These people want to be there. They're grateful for it. They're paying attention. They ask good questions. They're just real slow and old and hurt. So you have to count it back all the time.
I think it's such a good idea. My dad is like, he wrestled in high school, and then he got real into wrestling when I started getting into wrestling. And now my dad, he's 60 years old, and he's hard to, I have to like tell him to tone it back. He's trying to wrestle all the time, but he has no outlet to do it. He's going into like D2 wrestling rooms, getting hurt, like, trying to wrestle with D1 guys. So it's just like, this is a awesome idea. Fully love it.
It's gold, man. It's just going to take a businessman to make it really go, or someone to donate a shit ton of money to us. So if anybody out there really likes this idea,
adult wrestling, baby.
Adult wrestling, yeah. But it's wrestling as a hobby. Idea. Wrestling as a hobby, a recreational thing, slower pace. In the beginning, when we're warming up, we don't take them down to the mat, because that's like the biggest issue that people have, just hitting the mat. As you get older, it's actually pretty painful, and that's what gets people to not come back. And then you also everybody wants to go 0 to 100. If they haven't put their shoes on in 10 years, they think they're 18 years old and they go full speed. So it's just like toning those guys back. And so it's easy for us, because if somebody really wants to try hard, I'll just throw them down. Stop it.
Stop it. I love that. I think it's such a great idea, fun, man. So my only question, I think it's such a great idea because of, look at how many people want to do it, like jujitsu and all that stuff. But there's a lot of competitions too, where you have age groups for jujitsu. Do you think there needs to be a framework of there's a veterans worlds, right? But there's not like a adult wrestling.
There's more than you think. And it's just, people don't show up because it's not a legitimate thing. There'll be one guy in your weight, maybe. And then a lot of times you pay the $35 entry fee and there's nobody in your weight. So it's like, until you get a real group of people that know about it. And so that's like, all we're trying to do is just keep talking about it and stay consistent with it. And we used to do it every week, but we don't have time to do it like that. And so we just make sure we do one a month, just to be able to do content and keep the thing going. And so, and then we'll get excited about it and do a bunch of them and start to set up camps. But it's just that it's a network of people that are like-minded individuals. And there's a lot of people that would love to just sit on the couch and watch Netflix, but there's a whole nother group of combat sport athletes that would rather be in and sweat and roll and better themselves. And it's like having a date on the calendar. You get a little nervous when the OGWC practice is coming around. And so it's just a cool group of people that we're just trying to grow wrestling,
That's awesome.
Love it. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Max, you got anything else?
No, just appreciate your time, Reece. You're the man.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Reece. This was awesome. You got anything you want to shout out before we go, and we'll make sure we link your songs below.
Yeah. The music, Young Bruck. Obviously, any ebooks, anything linked on my Instagram is always a good start. But we do a podcast as well. CJ and I, we do. It's called No Genre, and you can find it on youtube.com/highlighthumphrey. And we've had some cool guests on there, a couple surgeons, Frankie Edgar's been on, and a bunch of other cool people with really cool stories.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Reece. We really appreciate it, man.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is a perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio.